Next on City Spotlight, we are talking all about Mattoon with Mayor Tim Gover. We will talk about the alley paving projects in the downtown area, new businesses coming to Mattoon, and we will finish the program with sights and sounds of Bagelfest 2015. City Spotlight starts now. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. I'd like to thank Tim Gover, the mayor of Mattoon, for coming on City Spotlight again. Tim, thank you for being on again.
Thank you, Ramin. Very happy to be here.
Appreciate it. It's been a while since you've been on.
February, I think.
Yeah, that's a few months back.
Yes.
And you're here to talk about Mattoon. We look forward to hearing your comments about what's going on in western Coles County. But as many people in the area know, that on June 25th, and by the way, we're taping early in July, so about 2 weeks ago, Larry Reynolds of Charleston passed away,
yes.
Mayor of Charleston. And you and Larry knew each other very well, both mayors of the towns you're from. And you told me prior to taping that you guys would meet about once a month along with other members of the Mattoon and Charleston city governments. What were those meetings like? What was Larry like?
Well, Mayor Reynolds and City Manager Scott Smith and I, along with City Administrator Kyle Gill from Mattoon, met on a monthly basis, and we alternated between Mattoon and Charleston. And about a week before his death, we had a meeting. And it was a very good meeting. Larry looked well. He said he felt good. I was shocked, as most people were, when I got a phone call that morning that he had died. And he was a tremendous person to work with. We worked on a lot of projects together. There were times when Larry would call me about something, or I would call him. We worked at the Lifespan Center on some different projects, serving food. We worked together recently at the Jonah Fish Fry. He was just a delightful person to be with. And you know, he was so interested in Charleston and promoted Charleston and wanted to do what was best for the Charleston community. And the thing with Larry, he went back about 20 years being on the council. And so he knew the background and the history of a lot of things that occurred in the city. And that is certainly extremely valuable for a mayor. And he will definitely be missed. And certainly my sympathy goes to Mary Ann and his family and to the residents of Charleston. And, you know, he not only was a leader, I think, in Charleston, but really in East Central Illinois. And people looked up to Larry, and they respected him, and they listened to him. And he will definitely be missed.
And the two towns, Charleston and Mattoon, we may have talked on this briefly the last time you were on, how they work together. So as mayors, how are you able to bounce ideas, not only about the town you are representing and leading, but how are you able to help the other mayor with what they're doing?
Well, if he has the mayor of Charleston has a question or a concern, they could call me, or I could call them. I've spoken with several times since then with the new mayor of Charleston, Mayor Combs, and we plan to continue meeting on a regular basis. And I want to help him in any way that I possibly can as well. But he'll do a fantastic job also. He's a native of Charleston and knows the community, and the community knows him.
Brandon Combs is now leading Charleston, and huge loss for Charleston and the communities. Larry Reynolds will definitely be missed.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for your comments on talking about Larry. Now for the reasons why you're here. You're here to talk about Mattoon. And,
always happy to do that.
Excellent. We're very grateful for you being here. And it's been a few months since we talked to you about Mattoon. And before we talk about what's going on right now in Mattoon, tell us, how did the past fiscal year go for Mattoon?
Past fiscal year was very good. We ended up with a surplus, about $100,000 or a little more. And we were looking ahead to 2015, not knowing what was going to happen with the state budget and how that might impact the city. So there were a number of things that we were going to buy in in this current fiscal year that we moved back to the last fiscal year. So if it had not been for that, our surplus would have been higher than that. But since when I became mayor, I inherited a deficit budget. And I said, that's not going to happen again. And since I've been mayor, we have not had a deficit budget since that time. And that's because of a lot of very fantastic department heads and staff members that have watched the budget very carefully.
And to be able to maintain that level of and consistency and having a surplus every year that you've been mayor, and not knowing what's going to go on in Springfield with the budget, the model that maybe you're working with, being able to do all these things and not know what's going to happen over in Springfield and continue to have a surplus year after year. What has that been like? And again, to the credit of the people that you work with under your staff.
Well, it makes my job a lot easier because I do have a lot of good people to work with. But we had to prepare the budget for this current fiscal year knowing there were problems in Springfield and not knowing where we were going to end up. Initially, the governor was talking about cutting the city portion that we receive on the state income tax. And that was to be initially about, well, for us about 900,000. Charleston would have been a little more, about 1.2 million. Coles County would have been about 500,000. And it looks like, hopefully, as we are taping this program, that's not going to happen. But we're still looking. We don't know. We're keeping our fingers crossed, but we're prepared to go to plan B, C, or D if it becomes necessary.
Well, a lot of people north, south, east, and west in Illinois were looking forward to finding out when it gets resolved.
Right. And hopefully it'll be soon.
Hopefully it happens before this program airs. Yes,
hope.
Exactly. All right, so you're into a new fiscal year. You have a surplus carrying over to the new fiscal year. Let's start with community pride. And for those at home or myself, what is community pride?
Well, we started this a number of years ago, and what we're trying to do is to basically clean up the city. Make sure that property looks good, that we don't have junk cars in the front of a home, or the grass is cut regularly and so forth. And we're also trying to, as money permits, demolish uninhabitable properties. We've got one that we're getting ready to demolish as we're speaking at 20th and Champaign in Mattoon. And we're trying to get rid of some of these eyesores. Now, one of the things that we didn't actually mention before we went on air, but we have gaming money that is coming in. Okay. And if I could just mention that, because it sort of ties in with some of the demolition.
Go for it.
We have about anywhere from 18 to 20,000 a year, a month, that the city is receiving from the gaming revenue, video poker. We have divided that goes into general revenues, but I had recommended to the last council and they agreed. We are earmarking that for several different categories, 5 different categories. One of them is demolitions. Another 20% we put into the Fire and Police Pension Fund, 20% into what we call the ME Fund, or the Mobile Equipment Fund, to help buy fire trucks, police cars, public works projects. Part of it goes into surplus to build that up. And so in part, that is where we are getting the money to demolish these properties.
One that I think either happened or is going to be happening, 401 North 20th Street.
That's the one I just mentioned.
Yes, you did. Any others that you see happening this summer and or the rest of 2015?
There are some that we have on the drawing boards, but nothing specific at this moment.
Okay. Let's move along to alley paving projects. There's a few of them going on in the downtown area. Broadway Avenue at 15th and 16th Streets has been completed?
That has been completed. Looks very nice now. Concrete alleyway. We're hoping eventually to move east and do the alley between 14th and 15th Street. And we're trying to get these alleys done in the commercial area, which are used quite heavily. The alley between 6th and 7th Street and between Charleston Avenue and Broadway, the property owners there have agreed to help finance the paving of that alleyway. The property owners will pay for the labor and the city will pay for the concrete. So it's a joint effort, and that'll be very nice. It's used by a number of businesses in that area between 6th and 7th Street.
And just not too far from there, business-wise, Wabash at 19th and 20th, that's where Casey Summers is, and they are working on a new GMC dealership.
That's right, and as people drive by there, they can see it coming together, and that probably will be at least another year before it's completed. What we're looking at right now, the part that is going up, is their repair department. service department. And once that is completed, there are a number of buildings there to the north on Charleston Avenue that will be demolished. And then a new dealership itself will be put up. And that'll be a very, very nice addition to that area of Mattoon.
Already large and growing.
It
so
is.
We'll see what it looks like once it gets completed. And it's summer, which means road work. And Rudy Avenue has had work completed. And you mentioned to me Oklahoma Avenue is being worked on.
Yes, on Oklahoma Avenue east of 9th Street. There are a lot of school children that walk along there, either from the middle school or from Williams School. And so that is being, a new sidewalk is being put in there, a wider sidewalk. And so hopefully that will help, because a lot of times the children had to walk out in the street, and that's just too dangerous.
With school being right around the corner.
Right around the corner, yeah.
Will that be completed in time for school?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. And let's move along to businesses in Mattoon. And I was just in Mattoon the other day, and I noticed a new advanced auto parts store on Lakeland Boulevard.
Yes, that's just been completed, and hopefully they will open that very shortly.
Excellent. And Sears is coming back to Mattoon?
Yes, it's about 99.9% assured that Sears will be coming back. It'll be a type of franchise store.
Okay.
They'll handle like appliances and tools and that type of thing. They will not have soft goods. But Mattoon has been, or Sears has been in Mattoon for as long as I can remember, and that's a long time.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to that coming back to the downtown area.
A familiar name. Hopefully it's back. Anything else? Any businesses move, or anything else you can talk about with economic development?
Well, one of the things we talked about, the K.C. Summers location, Motion Industries was in one of the buildings there that will be demolished. Okay. New building has been constructed for them in the 2100 block of Charleston, so they've just sort of moved down the street, and they are occupying that now. It looks like pretty good assurance, I believe, that we will have a new 24-hour restaurant opening in Mattoon.
Okay.
There's on the drawing boards anyway, 7,000 square foot retail establishment that will be constructed hopefully in the near future.
So more retail and more restaurants.
Absolutely.
So continue growing.
All good
in
for
Mattoon.
the city.
Excellent. Very good stuff. All right, and it's obviously summer. We talked about roads being something that are worked on during the summer, and it feels like in the summertime there's a ball game, softball, baseball going on every week in Mattoon, and a staple of Mattoon for 3 decades, Bagel Fest.
Bagel Fest coming up as we're taping this program, and certainly that's something that has been in Mattoon, as you said, for 3 decades, and it's continuing, it's moving, it brings a lot of people into Mattoon. It's something that's very exciting, but it's something that takes a lot of planning, and a lot of people are involved in making that a success.
That's something we'll have a little feature at the end of the show, so hopefully, barring any raindrops, which we've had quite a few of this summer, we'll be able to show some of those sights and sounds.
Well, something you mentioned also,
yes.
The baseball.
Yeah.
Tournaments this summer. And we have several hundred teams a year that come here. And Kurt Stretch and his crew do a great job with the ball diamonds. And we have some teams and some family members that come here, and maybe they're just here one day. In other cases, they're here maybe 2, 3, or 4 nights. And that helps fill up our motels, and people eat in our restaurants and shop in Mattoon. So it's really tremendous bringing in all of these different ball teams.
And like Bagel Fest, which is consistently there for you every year, you have the baseball and softball tournaments that run through the summer, fill up that time. Does it amaze you that these tournaments have the success with people coming to Mattoon and filling up your businesses and enjoying their time here? Oh,
it is amazing, and it's because we have some fantastic ball diamonds and ballparks, and it brings them in. And they keep coming back.
That's right. Great baseball, softball town Mattoon is. Anything else that I may have forgotten before I get to my last question here that you want to bring up or maybe reiterate?
Well, just the fact that we are certainly growing in Mattoon and prospering, and I hope to see that continue, certainly.
Any one particular thing you're looking forward to as 2015 is about halfway through? Anything you're looking forward to, or something that you're looking to maybe accomplish here in the latter half of 2015?
Well, as I mentioned, the budget, the state budget. The city has acted fiscally responsible, the state has not. And so we don't know what's going to happen. We may have to, as I mentioned earlier in the program, we may have to do some changing in our budget, but we're hoping that things will improve at the state level and things will go along with the city as well.
Have you had any hirings or additions to staff, people changing positions and or hirings here in the last 3-4 months?
The only thing that we have done as far as hiring is to replace people who have left or who have retired.
Okay.
But as far as new employment, none, no.
Okay. All right, well, plenty of time left in the year, and we'll have to have you back on when the calendar says fall.
Well, I look forward to it. It's always enjoyable to be with you.
Thank you for trekking across Coles County and being with us, and we look forward to talking with you again, Tim.
Thank you very much.
And coming up on City Spotlight, we'll have the sights and sounds of Bagel Fest 2015. But first, let's take a look at the upcoming activities going on in Mattoon. For 3 decades, Bagel Fest has been a tradition in Mattoon. For local residents and organizers, Bagel Fest brings people back to Mattoon year after year for all the activities associated with the event. And what is their favorite thing about Bagel Fest?
I would have to say not only the bagels, but also the parade. When I was younger, I always liked to see people of the town, such as the mayor, our family doctors, the bankmen. So getting involved and also getting free treats here and there is definitely a plus.
My very favorite part is right before the parade. If you come into town kind of early, you'll see on Broadway Avenue right before the parade starts at 10:30. Even as early as 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, people have their chairs out, like they're plotting their space and they're ready for the parade. And it's that kind of thing that makes it, help us get geared up to do it every year. That people look forward to it. They put on their schedule. They plan for it. They do things. It's family around it. But it's that symbolic putting in the chair out on Broadway really early for a parade that's pretty valuable to me.
I think my favorite event would be to get the Lunars Bagels. Lunars Bagels is a specialty. We used to be known for one of the biggest bagels in the Guinness Book of World Records. So being able to be a part of history and getting special bagels such as blueberry or cinnamon of your choice at unlimited amounts is absolutely amazing. So you can't go wrong with bagels. I've been here several times ever since I was a little kid. I think the last time I came here was when I was 7 years old, and it was actually at this very event, the Bagel Fest breakfast. I used to come here with my mom, and I'm still doing that today, so I always enjoy every year. It's something to look forward to.
This is our 30th anniversary, and we have been doing this since Murray Linder brought bagels to town and introduced bagels as this new item in the Midwest American kind of kitchen. And so he brought bagels in, had a free bagel breakfast, and people just gathered around this idea of hospitality and thought we should make a festival around this. So it really starts with this really, great idea of hospitality, and now it's 30 years old. So we feel like it's continuing to grow every year. I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's a very large community event. We have volunteers that start calling us in January, wanting to make sure they're on the list. We have great sponsorship support. We have a softball tournament that's built around it that really brings a lot of people to town. So from an economic standpoint, it's very valuable, and it's like our signature event for the year. So it means a lot to the community as a whole.
It's one of those things that can get family, friends, and all the township people involved. I think for the community, it definitely brings people from different churches, different organizations, hospital events to come here and sponsor an event to get kids and adults involved, to be able to know the history of Mattoon. So it's a sense of community bonding. I think the most interesting part would be that there is an entire event and parade surrounded by the concept of bagels. It's definitely something intriguing and odd, but it makes Mattoon unique in every way.
Everybody's got their favorite piece of it. You know, like we have a run for the bagel each Saturday at Bagel Fest. We have people come back for to best their time last year. We have lots of families that run together, lots of generations, so that part is good for them. The bagel breakfast, we have volunteers that do it every year. We have a volunteer that's been doing it for the 30 years. So if you can imagine that kind of commitment. And so there's a real sense of community and a real sense of doing something for a single purpose that I think everybody enjoys. We've had a great turnout. Our Wednesday night Carnival, I would say, was probably our biggest first night, opening night, at least in the 10 years I've been here. Our Thursday night concert, we had a contemporary Christian concert Thursday night. Great turnout, beautiful weather. It's been like that all week. So we feel really good about that we're still relevant to the community as long as people show up and still want to be involved.
From the bands to the Bagel Fest pageant to the parade to eating bagels, can't go wrong with Bagel Fest.
And we're back on City Spotlight. We just watched a feature on Bagel Fest 2015. And we're at Lytle Park in Mattoon, where we're here with Justin Grady, Superintendent of Mattoon Township Park District. Justin, thank you for being on City Spotlight.
Oh, you're very welcome. Happy to do it.
And Lytle Park is a beautiful park, and
thank you.
Don't know how much people have been able to enjoy the park this summer with all the wet, rainy days. How has the rain and the wetness of this summer in Central Illinois, it's been crazy, how has it affected park attendance? Most importantly, the Lytle Park pool.
I've been here 34 years. This is probably the worst weather we've had for a summer season. I think we've only broken 90 degrees once. We've closed 8 days already this year just because of weather, which is the most I can remember ever in a summer. We do movies in the park here, free for the public, every Friday. We've had to cancel 3 Fridays out because of the wet conditions. We've had more flooding in the park than I've ever remembered. It's just not been good.
And on our last episode of City Spotlight, we talked about the same issue with Charleston City Manager Scott Smith. And how does the rain and the rain out days and people not being able to attend the Lytle Park pool affect next year's attendance? Is that something that you have to calculate or look ahead towards?
Well, there's really no calculation for us. We found that really what drives the attendance at the pool is hot weather. This year was a really odd year. The school goes back into session on August 13th, and school did not get out this year until the 2nd of June because of the snow days this year. So we've really had a really shortened season, which really affects the season pass sales. But on top of that, the first week we were open was cold and rainy. Then we had a couple nice days, and then we had another week of rain and cold, and all of a sudden you're getting to late June, and so people aren't interested in purchasing that season pass that late. We're starting to make up some of that money from general admissions, but you know, here we are, we're almost to the end of July. We've only got a couple weeks left here, 3 weeks actually, and we're done for the season. So it's going to be tough, but it really depends on the weather more than anything else.
As we mentioned, we're at Lytle Park, and it's been a part of Mattoon for over 100 years, 103 to be exact.
Yes.
We're standing behind us is the children's garden that you mentioned. Can you talk about some of the new additions and any future plans going on here at Lytle Park?
Absolutely. We, in 2013, applied to the Department of Natural Resources for OSLAD grants, open spaces and land development, and were in 2014 awarded a $400,000 matching fund grant. So we've done 3 aspects of the park were designed, went out to bid 3 days before the bids were to come in. The state pulled the funding, and so we're kind of in limbo right now, but there were 3 areas that we were going to address in the park, and one of them is this playground behind me. Unfortunately, knowing that the grant had been awarded, we went ahead and did a lot of demolition, getting ready for the new stuff, absorbing those costs in general funds so that we could make the maximum use of the grant funding to add new things to the park. So we've eliminated 3 major pieces of playground equipment here with the expectation that new stuff would be going in. We've eliminated a couple of hard court surfaces where new features were going in, and we've eliminated a couple of backstops to be relocated. And unfortunately, the way the grant program works is they will not allow us to do anything related to the grant application without forfeiting that money. So until we get a positive or a negative answer from the state, the situation right now is that it has not been cut, it's on hold. And so we're hoping by the end of this budget crisis that the state's in right now will have a firm answer. We've got money in the bank to do things, but we can't do anything that was related to that grant without damaging the opportunity to get that grant, and we would rather use some of that money.
Very broad spectrum question before we're done here, Justin. Mattoon has many parks, just like Lytle Park here. What does all the parks mean to Mattoon, the importance, the value? What does it do for the city of Mattoon?
Green space is important to any community. Having a place to interact with nature, to get away from the hustle and bustle. There are a lot of different parks in Mattoon. Some of the city parks are more sports oriented and they serve their purpose. We have the only public pool in the area. It's the largest single vessel public pool in the state. It's 1.2 million gallons. It's a mini water park in a town of 18,000. We're really lucky to have it here. We've got 6 great tennis courts here, some hard surfaces, a couple of different playgrounds, a fountain that we allow people to play in. So it's a different park, but all the parks in Mattoon are awesome, and we're just lucky that they're so well taken care of and the public has access to them.
With so many parks in Mattoon, do you see at any point a new park just blossoming out of nowhere? I mean, you have the land for another park to just pop up and be a part of Mattoon.
I know the Township Park District certainly does not have the money or the land hidden anywhere to do something like that. I don't know if the city develops, that I can't say the city's been stagnant, but the population has really not changed much in the last 100 years in terms of numbers. It's spread out a little bit more. And typically if there's going to be more parkland, it's going to be in a newer development that starts to come along because most of the property in town is already spoken for in some way or another.
Well, Justin Grady of the Mattoon Township Park District, thank you for your time and being on City Spotlight.
Glad to do it. Thank you.
And that'll wrap it up for this edition of City Spotlight. We'll see you next time.
City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.